What if I told you that your penis has been slowly shrinking for the past 20 years and you didn't even notice? That's not an exaggeration. It's a medical fact most men over 60 are never told. And worse, most doctors won't talk about it. But I will. My name is Dr. James. I'm a men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience, and I've helped thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s regain confidence, performance, and yes, size. Here's what they didn't expect. You can increase penile length after 60, not just in theory, not wishful thinking, but with real science-backed strategies that have been buried under decades of silence and shame. In this audio, you'll discover 5 proven methods to regain what time, stress, and hormones may have taken from you. No gimmicks, no dangerous pills, just what works, supported by clinical data. And if you stay with me to the end, I'll reveal one overlooked food that's transforming results for older men, and it might already be in your kitchen. Before we get started, if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss any future health insights designed specifically for men in their 60s and beyond. And if you find this video helpful, just type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me create content that truly serves you. So let's begin with the first method. One that's simple, safe, and surprisingly effective. It doesn't involve any medications or surgery. In fact, it's something you can start doing today, right at home. I'm talking about gentle, consistent stretching. Now, this isn't the kind of stretching most men think of. This is a medically supported technique that helps stimulate natural tissue growth, and it's been quietly used by specialists for decades. Let me explain how it works. 1. Penile stretch therapy, the science of gentle traction. I still remember the first time a 67-year-old patient named Charles looked me in the eye and asked, "Doctor, is there anything I can do to feel like a man again? To feel like myself again?" He wasn't talking about ego. He wasn't chasing youth. He just wanted to regain a part of himself he felt slipping away quietly over the years. His sense of strength, his presence, his size. What most men don't realize is that as we age, we not only experience hormonal decline, but the physical structure of the penis itself begins to change. The tissue becomes less elastic, the blood flow weakens, and over time, it's not uncommon to lose up to an inch or more of natural length. The worst part? It doesn't happen all at once. It sneaks up slowly, until one day you look in the mirror and wonder, when did this happen? But here's the good news. The body, even after 60, is far more adaptable than we give it credit for. And one of the most effective, least invasive methods for regaining lost length is something called penile stretch therapy. Now, before you dismiss this as some kind of internet gimmick, let me be clear. This is a technique backed by clinical studies, urological journals, and years of real-world results. The principle behind it is actually quite simple. Just like the skin can stretch gradually over time, think of a woman's abdomen during pregnancy or a bodybuilder's expanding muscle mass, so can penile tissue. When done correctly and consistently, gentle traction can stimulate the body's natural repair process. It creates tiny microscopic stress on the tissue, prompting the body to respond by building new cells. Over time, those cells accumulate, the tissue thickens, the length increases. The change becomes visible and, more importantly, lasting. Now I want to be very clear. This isn't about pulling or forcing. This isn't painful. This is gentle and slow and controlled, more like physical therapy than anything else. The best analogy I can give is this. Think of it like training a muscle. You don't go into the gym on day 1 and lift 200 pounds. You start light with proper form and you show up regularly. That's how growth happens. Safe, steady, and real. For men like Charles, we started with simple routines he could do privately, in the comfort of his own home. A warm towel applied for a few minutes to increase blood flow. Then slow outward stretches while in a relaxed, flaccid state. 30 seconds at a time, no pain, no rush, just commitment. Over the course of a few months, he gained nearly an inch in visible length. But more than that, he gained something deeper: pride, confidence, a sense of control over his own body again. It's not about chasing perfection. It's about reconnecting with yourself in a way that many men, especially after retirement, forget is possible. And trust me, there is no age limit to reclaiming ownership of your body. I've had patients start at 75. I've had veterans in their 80s tell me they wish they'd heard about this sooner. And here's something else most people don't know. When penile tissue is gently stretched, it doesn't just lengthen. It also becomes more responsive to blood flow. That means better erections, better stamina, and in some cases, improvements in curvature or comfort. The body wants to heal. It wants to grow. You just have to give it the right signal. If you're still with me and you're thinking, can this really work for me? I'd say give it 30 days, just 5 minutes a day. No one needs to know but you. The mirror will tell the truth soon enough. But stretching the tissue is only one part of the puzzle. What if I told you that your body already holds a secret power, a set of muscles you've probably never even trained, that could improve not only size, but strength and control as well? That's what we're going to talk about next. And trust me, once you understand how it works, you'll wonder why no one ever taught you this before. If you're still here and this message is resonating with you, go ahead and type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're with me. Now let's keep going and dive into the next powerful insight. 2. Improve blood flow with targeted vascular exercises. I once had a patient named Harold, a retired firefighter in his early 70s, who came into my office with a quiet, almost embarrassed tone. "Doc," he said, "I'm not asking to be 20 again, I just want to feel like the man my wife married." That line stuck with me, not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. Men like Harold aren't chasing youth. They're chasing connection, function, presence, and more often than not, the missing link isn't size, it's blood flow. You see, most people think of erection problems as a hormonal issue or a psychological one. But what's often overlooked is that erections are, at their core, a vascular event. Blood flow is everything. Without sufficient circulation, the penis simply can't expand to its full potential. Not in length, not in firmness, and certainly not in longevity. What's worse, poor blood flow becomes more common with age, especially after 60 when the arteries begin to stiffen and the pelvic muscles weaken from years of underuse. That's where vascular exercise comes in. Specifically, targeted training of the pelvic floor. You've probably heard of Kegels before, usually in the context of women's health. But what many men don't know is that these same exercises can be even more transformative for male sexual function. When done correctly and consistently, they strengthen the group of muscles that support erections, control ejaculation, and regulate blood flow. I've seen men in their 60s and 70s who couldn't maintain an erection for more than a few seconds suddenly report stronger, longer-lasting performance in just a few weeks. It's not magic. It's simply a matter of training muscles that have been asleep for decades. I remember Harold was skeptical at first. "You're telling me I have to work out muscles I didn't even know I had?" he joked. I smiled and said, "That's exactly what I'm telling you, and the best part is you don't even need a gym membership. These exercises can be done standing, sitting, lying in bed. No one sees you, no one hears you, but your body knows. And more importantly, your partner will too." After just a month of consistent practice, Harold came back with a grin on his face and a little bounce in his step. "Doc," he said, "I don't know what kind of magic this is, but I haven't felt this solid in years." That's the power of blood flow. It's not just about the mechanics. It's about the confidence that comes when you know your body is working for you, not against you. Beyond the bedroom, these exercises improve overall pelvic health, including bladder control and even lower back support. But for the purpose of penile length and function, they act like a natural pump, helping deliver more blood to the erectile tissue, which in turn encourages it to expand more fully and more frequently. And as any vascular specialist will tell you, the more often tissue expands, the more likely it is to grow and adapt over time. The beauty of this method is that it's safe, simple, and backed by decades of clinical research. It doesn't require drugs, devices, or surgery. Just awareness, commitment, and a willingness to reawaken the parts of yourself that may have gone quiet with age. And once you start seeing results, once you feel that pulse of life returning, you begin to realize something even deeper. You are not done growing. Now, blood flow is a critical piece of the puzzle, but it's not the only one. Because here's the thing, your ability to grow and maintain length also depends on the internal chemistry of your body. I'm talking about hormones, specifically one vital hormone that quietly declines after age 40, robbing men of their energy, performance, and yes, their size. But what if I told you there were natural, science-backed ways to restore that hormone safely and reignite your body's natural growth signals from the inside out? That's exactly what we're going to explore next. 3. Restore testosterone naturally. Fuel for growth. I'll never forget the moment Robert, a 72-year-old retired mechanic, sat across from me with that familiar look of frustration. "Doc," he said, "I eat right, I walk every day, but I still feel like something in me just shut off, like I'm running on half the fuel I used to." He wasn't wrong. What Robert was describing wasn't a lack of motivation or aging alone. It was a hormonal shift that quietly affects every man as he moves through his 50s, 60s, and beyond. At the heart of it is testosterone. Testosterone isn't just a sex hormone, it's a growth signal. It tells your body to build muscle, to burn fat, to energize, and yes, especially to maintain and support the health of penile tissue. When testosterone drops, which it inevitably does with age, your body's ability to support healthy erections, proper blood flow, and even penile length is affected. The tissue becomes less responsive. Erections lose fullness. The structural integrity of the penis weakens. And over time, as that hormonal support fades, men begin to notice a decline in both performance and size, even if no one talks about it openly. The truth is, you don't just wake up one day with low testosterone. It slips away gradually, year after year, often starting in your 40s. And by the time you reach your 60s, your levels may be half of what they were in your prime. Most men assume this is just part of aging, and to some extent it is, but that doesn't mean it's untouchable. In fact, there are natural, safe, and proven ways to support your testosterone levels, and in doing so, reignite the body's natural mechanisms for growth and function. I've worked with hundreds of older men who assumed their best days were behind them, only to realize that by making a few consistent changes, their energy, their drive, even their size began to return. Robert was one of them. He began incorporating light strength training into his weekly routine. Not intense gym workouts, just bodyweight exercises and resistance bands. Within weeks, his posture changed. His energy picked up, and his morning erections started to feel alive again. That's the silent power of testosterone. It doesn't just affect your mood or your muscles. It speaks to every cell in your body that still wants to grow, still wants to perform. Alongside movement, we looked at his nutrition. Most men are deficient in key nutrients that support testosterone production: zinc, vitamin D, magnesium. Once those were corrected through a combination of diet and basic supplements, the shift was noticeable. He told me, "It's like someone flipped the switch back on. I don't feel old, I feel awake." That moment, that shift, is something I wish every man over 60 could experience. Because when testosterone rises, everything rises. Your confidence, your energy, your ability to take charge of your health again. And when the body feels supported, penile tissue responds. Erections become fuller, sensation returns, and yes, natural length, especially during arousal, can visibly improve. I want to be clear, this isn't about chasing the hormones of a 25-year-old, it's about restoring your body to its optimal state for your age. It's about removing the silent blocks that have been slowing you down without you even knowing it. And while some men may benefit from medical hormone therapy, many can achieve real results through natural lifestyle adjustments alone. The body is always listening. You just have to speak its language. And testosterone is one of the clearest, strongest signals it understands. Robert came back to my office 3 months later and said something I'll never forget. He looked me in the eye and said, "I don't just feel like a man again, I feel like myself again." And for most men, that's the real goal. Not vanity, not ego, just coming back to who they were before time and age started chipping away at their edge. But while hormones give your body the internal signal to grow, there's something else your body needs just as badly, especially when it comes to achieving noticeable, measurable gains. A natural chemical made in your own cells that acts as the spark behind every firm, full erection. The problem is it starts to fade with age unless you know how to bring it back. That's what we'll talk about next. And trust me, this one discovery has changed everything for men over 60. If you're still watching and these insights are bringing you value, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and engaged. Let's keep moving forward now with point number 4. 4. L-arginine and citrulline, the nitric oxide boosters. There's something deeply humbling about watching a grown man, a man who's built a life, raised children, worked hard for decades, admit with quiet frustration that his body just isn't responding like it used to. I remember when Martin, a retired postal worker in his late 60s, came into my office. He wasn't ashamed. He wasn't even angry. He was tired. Tired of feeling like he was doing all the right things, eating well, staying active, yet still struggling to achieve full, lasting erections. He said, "Doc, I'm doing everything I can, son, but nothing feels strong anymore. I miss that part of me." And he wasn't alone. Most men I see don't realize that underneath all the hormones, emotions, and effort, there's a very simple molecule that controls the engine of an erection. It's called nitric oxide. It doesn't get headlines or marketing buzz, but it's the reason any man can become hard in the first place. It relaxes blood vessels, opens the arteries, and allows blood to rush in fully and freely. Without enough nitric oxide, it doesn't matter how healthy your heart is or how strong your desire may be, your body simply can't respond. The problem is, nitric oxide production declines with age. By 60, your body is producing significantly less than it used to. The good news is, science has found a way to support and even restore it through 2 natural amino acids, L-arginine and L-citrulline. These aren't drugs. They're nutrients your body already uses. When taken in the right form, in the right amounts, they work together to stimulate your body's natural production of nitric oxide. And that's when things start to change. I remember recommending a regimen to Martin, nothing complicated. Just a combination of L-citrulline in the morning, L-arginine in the evening, and a diet that supported healthy blood vessels. After just a few weeks, his tone shifted. He told me it's like my body remembered what it used to know. His morning erections were stronger. His confidence started to return, not just because of the physical changes, but because he felt hope again. That feeling of "I'm not done yet," that's powerful. You see, the beauty of supporting nitric oxide naturally is that it helps the body do what it was designed to do. No forcing, no trickery, just restoration. When blood flows more freely to the penis, the tissue begins to expand more fully. Erections become firmer, longer, and when you combine that with consistent stimulation, whether through exercise, healthy testosterone levels, or traction, your body starts to rebuild. It responds to that flow, the tissues stretch, the length returns. I've seen this transformation again and again. Men who felt flat, lifeless, even defeated, regaining a part of themselves they thought had quietly disappeared forever. And the best part? It doesn't stop at the bedroom. Increased nitric oxide improves cardiovascular health, brain function, and energy levels. It makes everything feel sharper, more alive. For older men especially, these 2 amino acids are like flipping the lights back on. But timing, dosage, and consistency matter. You can't expect to take a single capsule and feel a miracle. It's a process. A few minutes a day, a few smart choices. And over time, your body starts to listen. That's the gift of this age. We may slow down, but we also gain patience, and patience gives these natural methods the space to work. Martin wasn't the only one who told me he felt 10 years younger after supporting his nitric oxide levels. I've heard it from veterans, teachers, truck drivers, ministers. Men from every walk of life, and I always tell them the same thing: your body isn't broken. It's just waiting for the right signal. But physical growth, blood flow, and hormone balance only take you so far. There's something else, something deeper that affects how we see ourselves, how we connect with our partners, and how we unlock the potential that's still inside us. It's not physical, it's mental, it's emotional, and it just might be the most powerful growth tool of all. That's what we'll uncover next. 5. Psychological reconnection and visual training. There's something we don't talk about enough when it comes to men's health, especially at this stage in life. We talk about blood flow, hormones, supplements, even devices, but we almost never talk about how we feel about our bodies as we age. And that silence, it has power. It shapes us. Because whether we admit it or not, the way we perceive ourselves, the way we see our masculinity, has a direct impact on how our bodies respond. One of my patients, Alan, a 69-year-old retired professor, said something during a session that stopped me in my tracks. "Doc," he said, "I think I stopped seeing myself as a man years ago. I still function, but I don't feel like the man I used to be." That wasn't about size. It wasn't about performance. It was about identity, about the internal image we carry and how that image influences everything else. Alan still had the physical potential, but mentally he had disconnected from that part of himself, and that disconnection matters more than most men realize. What's fascinating is that modern neuroscience is catching up to what many therapists and holistic practitioners have said for decades. The mind and body are not separate. They are constantly communicating, and when we stop believing in our physical strength, our body begins to reflect that belief. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, doesn't stop at 60 or 70. In fact, studies show that mental imagery, especially when paired with emotional intention, can influence real physical outcomes. That includes everything from recovery times to tissue responsiveness, even penile performance. I began working with Alan on something simple, yet powerful. Every morning, just 5 minutes of quiet visual training. He would take time to mentally picture his body as strong, capable, full of energy and vitality. Not as it was at 30, but as it could be now, right now. We paired that with daily affirmations. Not fluffy talk, but honest, grounded statements. I am still growing. I am present. I am connected to my body. At first, it felt awkward. He laughed about it, but after a few weeks, something shifted. He told me that he started looking at himself differently in the mirror, not with judgment, but with respect, with pride. And slowly that shift in perception began showing up in the bedroom. More confidence, more engagement, a stronger sense of control. Because when a man believes he's still capable, the body follows suit. The brain begins to send better signals. Blood flow improves, sensation increases, and in many cases, length and performance begin to rebound. Not because of some miracle, but because the mind finally stopped standing in the way. What I'm saying is this: if you've been carrying around years of shame, doubt, or even quiet resignation about your body, it's not too late to release it. You don't need to live under the weight of old stories. Stories that say you're too old, you're past your prime, or this is just how it is now. That narrative is optional. You can choose another one that reconnects you with the most important relationship you have, the one between your mind and your body. Visual training isn't about pretending, it's about returning. Returning to your body with awareness, gratitude, and strength. I've seen it in men from every walk of life, farmers, lawyers, musicians, veterans, who started to reframe how they saw themselves, and in doing so unlocked real, measurable change. Not just in how their penis functioned, but in how they walked, how they spoke, how they loved. And the most beautiful part, it's free. It's already inside you. No pills, no equipment, no surgery. Just 5 minutes a day and the willingness to see yourself clearly, through eyes of strength, not shame. Now we've come a long way together, from traction therapy to blood flow, testosterone, nitric oxide, and now the mind-body connection. But there's still something left, something practical, often overlooked, and shockingly powerful. In the next and final part, I'll leave you with two things: a truth that most men over 60 never hear until it's too late, and a simple everyday food. Yes, a food that could become your most surprising ally in this entire journey. You won't want to miss it. 6. This isn't about vanity. It's about vitality. I've spent over 3 decades sitting across from men who've built lives, who've raised families, survived hardship, led with strength, and yet come to me with one simple, often quiet truth: I just want to feel like myself again. Not more impressive, not younger, just whole. And if there's one thing I've learned through the thousands of conversations, it's this: this journey we've been on together isn't really about inches or pills or muscles. It's about vitality. It's about reclaiming a part of ourselves that time and stress tried to wear down. Somewhere along the way, many men lose touch with that core feeling, the sense of being alive in their own skin, of knowing their body responds, that they still have agency over their health, their energy, and yes, even their sexuality. That's not vanity. That's survival. That's dignity. The truth is, there's nothing shallow about wanting to wake up and feel strength in your bones again. There's nothing foolish about a man in his 60s or 70s looking in the mirror and deciding, I still get to matter. You do. All the methods we've talked about, traction therapy, vascular exercise, hormone support, nitric oxide boosters, mental reconnection, are tools. Not magic, not overnight solutions, but tools to help you carve your way back to the version of yourself you know is still in there. I've seen men change their entire lives by committing to just one or two of these methods. Not because they were desperate, but because they were ready. Ready to stop settling. Ready to stop believing the quiet lie that it's too late. And because I always want to leave you with something practical, something grounded in nature and science, I'll tell you about one last piece that many men overlook. It's not a supplement. It's not exotic. It's something you've probably walked past in the grocery store 100 times without a second thought. Beets. Yes, beets. The same deep red root vegetable your grandmother might have pickled. What most people don't realize is that beets are one of the richest natural sources of dietary nitrates, compounds your body converts into nitric oxide, the very molecule that expands blood vessels and improves circulation. In fact, several clinical studies have shown that daily beet consumption can significantly increase blood flow throughout the body, including to the penis. When combined with even a modest lifestyle shift, the results can be surprising. I've had men start drinking a small glass of beet juice each morning or adding cooked beets to their dinner a few nights a week, and within weeks they report stronger morning erections, quicker arousal, and even improved recovery time. It's not hype, it's biology. And it works especially well for older men whose nitric oxide levels have naturally declined but whose responsiveness to these compounds remains intact. And the benefits go far beyond the bedroom. Beets can support heart health, reduce blood pressure, and enhance stamina. They nourish your body from the inside out. Simple, honest, effective, just like most good things in life. So if you're still listening, if you've made it to this point, I want to leave you with this. You're not broken, you're not too late, and you're certainly not finished. You are in a season of life where you get to rewrite the rules. You get to choose strength, vitality, and connection on your terms. But we're not quite done yet. Because before we close, I want to share one final thought. Something I believe every man over 60 needs to hear at least once. It's the truth I've carried with me through years of practice, and it just might change how you look at your body and your life from this day forward. Let's bring it all home. A new chapter begins. You're not done yet. Every man has a quiet moment when the noise of life settles, when the world isn't watching, and he asks himself, is this it? Have I reached the edge of what's possible for me? And far too often the answer he hears, whether from doctors, media, or even his own doubts, is yes. But I'm here to tell you that's not true, not even close. Because what I've seen over and over again is that possibility doesn't expire with age. It just waits for permission. We've walked through a lot together in this journey. We began with the idea that penile length and performance don't have to fade silently with time. that even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, the body still holds the capacity for growth, repair, and renewal. We talked about traction, how the simple act of gentle stretching can stimulate cellular growth and tissue expansion when done consistently and correctly. That method alone has helped thousands of men reclaim not just inches, but confidence. We explored the vital role of blood flow and how the muscles deep in the pelvis, muscles most men forget even exist, can be awakened to support firmer, longer-lasting erections. Then we dove into the foundation of male energy, testosterone. Not as a quick fix, but as the hormone that whispers to your cells, grow, heal, thrive. By restoring natural levels through movement, rest, and nutrition, we found a way to breathe life back into what once felt dull or slow. Next, we brought in nitric oxide, the silent spark behind every powerful erection. Through L-arginine, citrulline, and even simple foods like watermelon and dark leafy greens, we saw how men can feed their body the raw material it needs to perform again. And most recently, we touched on something deeper than chemistry. Belief. The idea that the way you see yourself can directly affect the way your body responds. That reconnecting to your masculinity, to your identity, isn't optional. It's essential. Because when the mind and body are aligned, that's when real change begins. I shared stories because that's how we make sense of things. And maybe you saw a piece of yourself in Robert, or Alan, or Martin. Men who weren't trying to chase youth, they were just trying to reclaim ownership over their own bodies. And they did. Slowly, quietly, steadily. One decision at a time. You can too. This journey has never been about vanity. It's about vitality. It's about looking in the mirror and seeing a man who hasn't given up on himself, who still has fight, who still believes that something better is possible because it is. You are not defined by your age. You are not defined by your limitations. You are defined by the actions you choose today. So if there's one message I hope you carry with you, it's this. You are not finished, not even close. Your body, your strength, your intimacy, they are not behind you. They are waiting for you to return, and it's not too late to begin again. Take what you've learned here and try one thing, just one. Start stretching. Add beets to your breakfast. Do your first set of pelvic floor exercises. Visualize yourself strong again. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to begin. Because the first step isn't just about the body, it's about reclaiming the belief that growth is still yours to have. As a doctor, I've seen what happens when a man makes that choice. He doesn't just improve in the bedroom, he stands taller, speaks more clearly, feels more present in every room he walks into. That's the power of believing that you still matter, that you still can. So here's to your next chapter. One marked not by decline, but by renewal. Not by silence, but by strength. You've earned the right to feel alive again. And the best part? You don't need permission. You just need to say yes. Now go. Reclaim what's always been yours.